Welcome, everyone, to the open session of the September 2nd City Council meeting. 6:01 is our start time. Madam Clerk, can we have the roll call, please?
We certainly can. Councilmember Keldorf. Here. Councilmember Giroux.
Here.
Councilmember Boyles.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Baldino.
Here.
And Mayor Pimentel.
Here. All right, and we have Pastor Elmore from the Bridge, who will lead us in the invocation, followed by Councilmember Boyles leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Awesome. Just want to say thanks again for letting us partner with our community this way. It's always an honor, so thank you. I'll pray for us. Lord, we thank you for this community, how you're guiding and shaping this community, God. And Lord, I just pray a special blessing for our public servants, our first responders, our police officers, firefighters. And Lord, I lift up our teachers and our superintendents, especially as we've headed back into school. Lord, just a special blessing as they engage with school this year. And Lord, we lift up just this time. I pray you give these council members discernment and wisdom as they tackle issues. And we give you this time. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, please face the flag, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Elmore, and thank you very much, Councilmember Boyles. We will start tonight. We have two presentations, the first of which is our Public Library Summer Reading Program wrap-up.
So, good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council members, for allowing me to share a little bit about this summer's summer reading program. So, to give you a little background, the summer reading programs in public libraries have a long tradition, originating in 1896 with the Cleveland Public Library. The idea was to encourage children and teens to read during the summer school break, maintaining their skills for upcoming school year. Today's summer reading programs have expanded to include all ages, and yes, that even includes adults. This nationwide summer tradition that promotes reading for fun is a true collaboration between libraries, schools, and local businesses who sponsor incentives to encourage participation. We would like to thank our local Raising Cane's, Starbucks, and McDonald's for their generous support. This year, a total of 639 readers participated in our summer reading program, and to break it down by age, that represents 74 early readers ages 0 to 4, 231 kids ages 5 to 10, 101 teens ages 11 to 17, and 233 adults ages 18 and older. This is the largest year for adult participation, so we're super proud. Total minutes read for all ages, 388,582 minutes. And that is about 6,476 hours. Or if you want to think about it in council member terms, that's 3,238 council meetings. Let me say that one more time. The reading minutes totaled this year is equivalent to 3,238 council meetings. And that's about 135 years worth of meetings. So there you have it. The adult and teen readers are a tough audience, and I'm also very proud to share that the numbers steadily grown with this reader demographic. In 2024, the adult participation increased 32% from the previous year, while the teens had an increase of 95%. This year, the adults showed an increase of 34% and teens 33%. And I just have a few quotes from our participants, and some are kids, some are parents. One parent said, "It keeps my kiddo enthusiastic about reading over the summer." A 6th grade student says, "I love the summer reading program challenge because it inspired me to read over the summer and to read a book that I really liked. If it wasn't for the reading challenge, I wouldn't have read this book I really liked called 7 Clues to Home. It's a really good book and you should read it. That's what she says to you guys. I love the Beanstack app used for this program. My young children can record their own reading, and I love seeing the analytics. So we've been using Beanstack ever since COVID. The state library provided 3 years of free Beanstack use while libraries were trying to navigate the COVID situation, and we continued with it because it's been pretty successful for us. So another parent noticed that a lot of kids and students in town talking about the program and shared that it was fun to hear the buzz about the summer. So we just wanted to say thank you guys for supporting it, and we look forward to continuing to grow the program in future years and bring more readers and more success. So thank you.
Thank you. That's fantastic. All right. Next, we have a proclamation. We were meeting with the governor's office, and they asked different cities to do an Admission Day proclamation to celebrate the state anniversary. And we're supposed to have someone read it who was born in California, which made it me was our option. So, I know, you carpetbaggers. Whereas, California became the 31st state in the Union on September 9th, 1850, also known as Admission Day. And whereas California welcomes people from all walks of life, as the state of dreamers and doers, our collective drive for a better world, combined with our innovative and collaborative spirit, has helped drive progress over the last 175 years, from human rights and labor rights to science, technology, and entertainment. And whereas Californians have demonstrated their resiliency against adversity and tragedy, coming together to heal and rebuild, and through that community, finding moments of peace and unity. And whereas, with its vibrant culture and majestic beauty, California inspires joy in residents and visitors alike. And whereas, here, everybody belongs. We celebrate all those who have chosen to pursue the California dream, all those who are driven by grit, determination, and a relentless belief in what is possible. And whereas California is the 4th largest economy in the world and is home to more than 39 million people, California is the leading agricultural producer in the country and the leading state for manufacturing. California is rich with diverse and awe-inspiring landscapes, from the fertile Central Valley to the desert regions, from the peaks of the Sierra Nevada mountain range to the sunset views of our Pacific beaches. And whereas California's name comes from a 16th century romance novel written by the Spanish author Garcia Ordóñez de Montalvo. It described a mythical island called California. Now, therefore, on this second day of September 2025, the mayor and members of the City Council of the City of El Segundo, California, do hereby proclaim September 9th, 2025 as California's 175th anniversary of statehood, and encourage our citizens to celebrate the day California became the 31st state in the Union, also known as Admission Day. There we go. Learned a lot right there. I had not heard it was the 4th largest economy in almost 20 minutes. All right, Madam Clerk, do we have any public communications?
I'm sorry, that was funny. I have no speaker cards, but if there's anybody out there who would like to speak that did not fill out one, now's the time. We have no public communication.
Very well. City Manager, any follow-up comments?
The only comment I have, Mayor, if to ask you and the council if you'd consider moving item 15 up in the agenda to maybe after the consent calendar?
Yeah, we'll do it directly before item 11, which is the first public hearing, if
Okay.
that's okay. Any objections?
Thank you.
Very well. I'll entertain a procedural motion to read all items by title only.
So moved. Baldino seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, consent agenda. Are there any polls?
Is it number 8?
All right, number 8 is pulled. Anything else? Okay, would anyone like to move approval for items 3 through 7 and 9 and 10?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 8. I am recused from item 8, so I will have to leave the room. Over to you, Mayor Pro Tem.
The only reason I pulled this item. I'm just kidding.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Chief, what I pulled here is an award of a contract, real-time data visualization platform with Peregrine. How do you pronounce that?
Yes, Peregrine is the correct, yeah.
Okay. Can you just briefly describe what this is and how it's going to be
Yeah,
beneficial?
it's
for
a
you?
software system that'll bring together our body-worn cameras, any kind of cameras that we use, ALPRs, Vigilon, which is you will find throughout the entire city, at Rec Park, all over the place. We'll bring our CAD, RMS systems together, where if we're looking for anything, it'll populate it immediately, it'll pull it up. For instance, if we're looking for a crime that occurred involving a white car, you just put in white car and it'll populate every report that we have. Not only that, in the South Bay, Torrance, Gardena, Redondo Beach, and Hermosa Beach are using this system, so when we share data with them, we'll be able to pull data from those departments as well with the same kind of frequency. If we're looking for a particular person or a tattoo, whatever it may be, it'll immediately gather that information. The ability to get this information will make us work a lot more efficiently and effectively, solve cases much further than we do now, and hopefully continue to decrease our crime rates.
And this is we're being reimbursed from grant funds for this.
Correct, sir. Yes, completely reimbursable. It took a while because we brought this forward, if you remember, for a rescue vehicle. So it took a year and a half to get it approved through UASI because it has to go through the governor's office, through Cal OES. Then it goes through the LA mayor's office. And if you can imagine, the mayor's office was pretty busy. We finally got approval through them to get this done and approved to be fully reimbursed for the total amount.
I did want to highlight the fact that these grant funds were going to be used for that rescue vehicle. That did not work out. Your department shifted, found other resources that you thought you could use, reapplied, and got these funds for our
That is
department.
correct, sir. Yes,
So that's all I wanted to point out. Great job. Way to be flexible, way to solve a problem. And with that, I'll move approval of item number 8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And with that, we can recall our mayor.
Go grab him.
He's not filing. Bless you. Yeah, do you mind?
All right, so we are now over to item 15, the Plunge Capital Campaign Update. Director Mancini, over to you.
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The Eurosari Swim Stadium, or the Plunge, was built in 1940 by the Works Project Administration to serve the city of El Segundo and its residents. The Plunge has been programmed year-round for recreation swim, lap swim, fitness classes, swim lessons, practices, and competitions until it closed in 2018 due to ongoing maintenance issues. As you know, the Plunge has been under renovation since August of 2024 and is expected to reopen to the public in the first quarter of 2026. The funding for the Plunge is coming from multiple sources, including the city's capital improvement program, donations from the El Segundo Unified School District, and a number of private donors. The Recreation Parks and Library Department has been collaborating with the South Bay Sports, Health, and Recreation in a capital campaign to raise $5 million towards the project. The South Bay Sports, Health, and Recreation is a nonprofit corporation dedicated to providing funding to create, upgrade, and enhance sports and recreation facilities with the purpose and of promoting and cultivating improved health for the betterment of the community. As council recalls, SBSHR also partnered with the city to raise funding for the El Segundo Weisburn Aquatic Center, which opened 6 years ago. The Plunge Capital Campaign kicked off in spring of 2024 and has raised just over $2 million in pledged donations to date. The Capital Campaign has two components, including a naming rights program and a Community Heroes donor wall. The naming rights program entitles donors with pledges of over $100,000 to have different amenities within the facility named after the businesses. The Community Donor Wall program allows smaller level donors an opportunity to have an engraved acrylic plaque with the donor's name installed on a Community Heroes wall that will be featured along one of the two prominent walls running along the inside of the facility adjacent to the pool. To date, there have been 6 major donors, including Chevron, Continental Development Corporation, Mar Ventures, Torrance Memorial Medical Center, Skechers Foundation, and Los Angeles Lakers. Staff are currently finalizing dates this month with Mayor Chris Pimentel and Councilmember Baldino to join SBSHR CEO Richard Lundquist in meetings with representatives from other potential donors, including Boeing, Aerospace, Hackman Capital, Mattel, and L'Oreal, among others. In addition, city staff are focused on continuing to connect with the community through a campaign effort focused on securing pledges for the Community Heroes Wall. A capital campaign booth has been featured at several of the local events, including the Movies in the Park, the Art Walk, the Farmers Market, and several others. In addition, a mailing campaign targeting smaller El Segundo businesses kicked off in August. Just outside the council chamber, the council can see a sample of materials that are taken out into the community for residents to engage with, to learn more about the campaign. Residents can see samples of the wall plaques and renderings of the facility. We remain very hopeful that the community partners will step in to support this critical piece of infrastructure in El Segundo that will serve many more generations of El Segundo residents. And joining me this evening, I have President Richard Lundquist and Sherry Kramer, also from South Bay Sports Health and Recreation, and we're here to answer any questions you might have. Just want to come up, say a few words.
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words. Richard Lundquist, South Bay Sports Health and Recreation and Continental Development Corporation. I'm very confident we're going to reach the $5 million goal set out a few years ago for this campaign. As the plunge becomes further and further along, it's easier to take people through it, and they're able to see exactly what's going to be created there. As everybody knows, it was a project, WPA project in 1940, and it's going to be more fabulous than it was then upon completion. And we all know that there's many new corporations in town, many of them in our development, that we plan to arm wrestle to become donors for this this project. And so, as I said, I have complete confidence we'll reach that that goal, but we all need to spend a little more time on it. And I will say I haven't put enough effort into it, but I definitely will. Happy to answer any questions.
Any council questions?
Not a question, but thank you again, sir, for your continued dedication to our city, your willingness to give your time and your energy and your efforts to this effort. I truly appreciate it.
Well, it's a wonderful community, and we're very happy to do what we can to make it even better. And I think you'll be hearing some announcements in the next few weeks about some special things happening on Rosecrans Avenue.
We are so fortunate to have such great civic partners in all of our corporate interests here. And I think with the superintendent sitting there, we know exactly how many kiddos we're going to have using that pool, because we have an enormous baby boom in this city. I mean, a COVID boom has occurred, and I think when these donors see how much excitement there is around this facility, it's going to be tremendous. So thank you again very much for your willingness to put time to this on behalf of the city. It's absolutely fantastic.
Sure. Sure. You want to say?
I just want to say, well, you mentioned the schools. I just talked to the superintendent, and he's going to do an outreach to parents and the newsletters and principals newsletters, so we will hit them that way. I talked to Joe. We did a sneak peek a while back for the initial big donors, and we plan to do some more of those in a couple more months when more is around and people can physically see it. But I want to say that, you know, first of all, Chevron kicked this off years ago, and we were so appreciative, and they continue to give every year. And we've got some great donors. We've got several pledges. Drew? I know it's coming. I know it's coming. We got Rotary, and we have other ones that have pledged money, and Alex Abad, great realtor in town, who stepped up to help. So we feel confident. We've been going after more of the big money. We're grateful for everything 1,500 and above, because that's where you get your plaque, and that's where our focus has been. But we feel really wonderful working with Ali and Joe in the city that people are going to rally around. But I think they just need to see it. You know, so I'm with Richard. We feel confident.
Yeah, I want to make a shout out to Chevron too. They've been very cooperative and helpful in this campaign, and we'll get there. Thank you.
Is that it?
Thank you, and we look forward to the announcements coming up on Rosecrans as well. Okay, we're going to move this back to item 11. This is our Public hearing to establish a fee for a community alerting system for the city of El Segundo pursuant to California Assembly Bill 1646 and an agreement with Chevron Corporation to reimburse the city of El Segundo and associated costs. Madam Clerk, this is the time and place heretofore fixed for a public hearing. Was proper notice of the hearing given in a timely manner?
Proper notice was given in a timely manner.
Have we received any written communication regarding this public hearing?
We have not.
The public hearing is now open. Chief Avery, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Before you tonight, I'd like to request that we implement a community alerting system that we've worked many hours, and this is a conversation that sort of reborn from years ago that our city attorney was well a part of, and some of you. Before I start, I'd like to introduce Jeff Wilson from Chevron, who is also here to make some comments and really echo our partnership throughout this entire process. So as you remember, there was a large explosion at the ExxonMobil refinery in Torrance back in 2015. And there's a cloud of chemicals that went over the entire neighborhood. And I know all of you know this, but this is really for the audience's sake, that they were not alerted of what occurred. So an assembly bill from Assemblyman Al Martucci was formed and passed. Governor Brown signed it into law, which requires every local implementing agency, such as ourselves, that are very part of the Chevron community, to make sure that our community members are well aware of any refinery incident that occurs. So the community alert system, and let me just preface this entire thing. We've searched far and wide to see if somebody else could take on this obligation and this massive responsibility. We've checked with our local dispatch centers, other agencies, and nobody could do it. The responsibility, they said, was just too great. Even Chevron staff, they felt that in an incident, their staff would be tied up with dealing with the incident rather than trying to do that and alerting the community at the same time. So that's how we ended up with the proposal that I'm going to share with you shortly. So for the community's behalf, we have a community alert system, which right now we're using Everbridge. And this Everbridge software system reaches out to every community member that opts in or even does not opt in, and can tell them exactly what is going on if there's a refinery issue. And I don't know if some of you have seen the recent safety flare that's occurred, and now we will have the ability, if it's authorized, to just alert our community what's going on, if it's a threat to our community or not, if they need to shelter in place, or if they need to evacuate. So the design of that we created is that we are going to use the Everbridge alerting system. There's going to be 2 people per day, myself and a battalion chief on call 24/7. So when they are on call, we cannot, and obviously it's a partnership and communication between the 2 of us to make sure at least one of us is available to immediately notify our community if something occurs. And so they'll be on a 4-hour standby time. And then if an incident occurs, obviously we're committed throughout the entire incident. So this Alert South Bay system, I don't know, many of you throughout the last year have received notifications through Nixle, through iPause, through Alert South Bay, has been very effective and reached so many people. This is the messaging that it looks like from our perspective. We put in a title, we say what the issue is, and then a direction to the community of what they need to do and what the duration is, and we will give them updates as the incident progresses, and also a termination message. And on their side, they will receive something like this, which basically says shelter in place, immediately gets inside, close your doors and windows, turn off your ventilation system, and tune into the local news channels. From an administrative perspective, we can find out how many people it actually reached. And we will also work with our communications division, Barbara Voss, our deputy city manager, to see if we can get analytics to make sure that each and every resident is educated on what's going on with this Alert South Bay software that we do use. Here's the fee summary, and there's a startup costs for the technology, and then there's personnel costs that are going on. So this is basically projected from this entire fiscal year, and then totaling what you see at the top. And then after the startup costs, the one-time startup costs go away, then it's just personnel costs that are ongoing. Here is the finite detail of it for the record. And then I do have to tell you that Chevron has been a great partner in not only creating this, but they've been very transparent all along since I've been the fire chief here of every incident they've had, and very helpful. Their staff has communicated with me directly, or my battalion chiefs, of anything that's gone on, and even prompted them to come out and please take a look so you can see what's going on their property. So I'd like to introduce Jeff Wilson from Chevron to say a few words, please.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, and the members of the public. We do very much appreciate and fully support the fee schedule that is being proposed by staff. And I do want to, again, thank the chief, the fire department, the city leadership. Really, for some historical context, our dialogue goes back to even when the author, Assemblyman Maritucci, was drafting a package of not just one, but 4 different refinery safety initiatives that followed that incident that took place in Torrance in 2015. This really completes now for Chevron El Segundo the final step, which was to work transparently and collaboratively with the city to ensure the public had the most state-of-the-art effective notification tools at its disposal, at the discretion and at the authority of the city of El Segundo and the implementing agency, which is technically called the CUPA. We think that the transparency that the staff has continued to work through, critical here is redundancy to make sure that roles and responsibilities and the focus of the ongoing effective community emergency response, that is the primary role of the El Segundo Fire Department, the city's staff, is not deterred from the potential occurrence, unlikely occurrence of a notification that warrants the public being protected for a shelter in place. So that's what's critical here. The categories of the agency staffing, the redundancy on off hours, really should give the public and the council members the confidence that this will be put in place. For us too in El Segundo, we're very proud of the fact now with this notification procedure and new tools, really maximizing the South Bay alerts. That with the South Coast Air Quality Management District's Rule 1118, which is the public's ability to sign up for flare notifications. Of course, then the Rule 1180, where we have the most state-of-the-art fence line monitoring system hands down anywhere in the world, where the public now can be notified on the fence line readings and see live and be notified of any exceedances. These 3 very important tools, I think, speak to what gives us a lot of pride in the history of how we want to continue transparent operations and maintain the safety of the community. So happy to answer any questions, but we stand in full support of the fee schedule. Okay. Thank you again, Chief. Okay.
Chief, anything further?
No, sir.
Are there any questions before we open this up open the public hearing up for public input? All right, the public hearing is now for public input. Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Drew with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Council discussion.
Well, we have spoken about this before, and Chief, I want to thank you for the time you put in, but also your willingness to kind of sharpen your pencil and look at it and say what's the most reasonable, equitable way we can deliver the quality we need and the security we expect. And so thank you for your time, and thank you, Mr. Wilson, for working with him as well.
You're welcome, Mayor
Appreciate
Pro
it.
Tem.
Any other council discussion? I will echo the Mayor Pro Tem's gratitude to Chevron for being a great partner with this, and Chief Avery, thank you. I know that we're never fun to deal with when it comes to the spreadsheet of funding. All right, with that, City Attorney, would you like to read this resolution by title only, please?
Yes, Mayor and Council, a resolution of the City Council of the City of El Segundo establishing fees for the costs incurred by the city for AB 1646 compliance is ready for adoption.
Would anyone like to move adoption?
Sure.
Boyles.
Go ahead.
Boyles on the first. Boyles on the first.
I'll second.
Keldorf on the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 0-5-0. It passes. All right, thank you very much. And we will move to item 12. This is a resolution amending Chapter 1A2 of the El Segundo Administrative Code for the Management Confidential Series relating to salary range adjustments, increases to flexible benefit plans, and the Fair Labor Standards Act exemption status. Director Reddick, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. This item tonight is to update the administrative code. This is the document that provides all the salaries and terms and conditions of employment for the unrepresented employees in the city, which means those employees that do not belong to a bargaining unit or labor group, or sometimes people call them unions, certain cases. So the administrative code was last comprehensively updated for salaries and benefits in August of 2023. So it's been 2 years since it's been updated. Some of the key provisions in this update is a salary range adjustment. So their salary range adjustment just means that the salary range is being increased. Employees in this particular group do not receive automatic cost of living adjustments. All increases to compensation are earned based on a merit system, based on performance. So for this update is salary range adjustment to the miscellaneous, miscellaneous and safety. This group does have 3 battalion chiefs in it. So a salary range adjustment for the mid-management and confidential by 6%. And then for the non-safety executives, the department heads, increase to the maximum salary of $247,500 annually. All our non-safety department heads have the same salary range. So this represents about a 10% salary range adjustment. And then for the safety executives, so the police chief and the fire chief, also 10% salary range adjustment, which brings the maximum salary for the police chief to $307,000 and for the fire chief to $305,000. Additionally, and in line with all of the other employee groups, is an increase to the health insurance contribution of $50. This particular group has 2 buckets which make the health insurance contribution. One is the PIMCA amount, and then the other is the flexible dollars, which can be used towards health insurance premiums or deferred compensation contributions. So this is in line with all the other employees in the city, an increase by $50 each year in January of 26 and January of 27. There are 3 positions that are going to have an equity adjustment with this proposed revision. One is the senior management analyst. This position was in relative to other positions within the city. It was paid at a lower level than positions that were lower than the senior management analyst. So this position, senior management analyst, there are going to receive an 8.18% equity adjustment. So that's an immediate adjustment to the incumbents in the position. Planning manager equity adjustment 4.78. There's 1 incumbent in that. And then we do have a vacant human resources manager position, which we are currently recruiting for. That would receive an 8.9% equity adjustment, which just means the salary range increases by 8.9 because there's no incumbent in the position right now. The last piece of this is all of the positions in this particular group do not earn overtime. Instead, they can receive administrative leave hours per year of up to 56 hours. We did an FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act, analysis on one of the positions in here, the human resources technician. That position was determined to be non-exempt under FLSA, which means that we are required to pay overtime for that position. So we will update the administrative code to remove the administrative leave hours eligibility for this position, and instead it will be compensated with overtime hours. I'm available for questions. Those are the key updates.
Council questions, comments? I think I would just add for the people at home that the overwhelming majority of our employees are in organized labor groups. So for us, those contracts, pretty rote, and you go 3 to 5 years on them depending, and everything is predictable. For this group, because of the diversity of what they do, it is enormously complicated for us because onesies and twosies. And I like the equity adjustments because some people just fall behind because they just do, and it's really difficult to keep track, especially in an inflationary era, to keep the wages competitive. So it's very, very difficult. If there's no other council discussion, City Attorney, would you read this this resolution by title only, please?
Mayor and Council, a resolution of the City of El Segundo, California, amending the city's administrative code to update sections for specific unrepresented classifications under Chapter 1A2, Management Confidential Series is ready for adoption.
Who would like to move adoption? Pimentel, the first.
Baldino, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Not opposed, 5-0. All right, Director Reddick, you are up again for the first reading of an ordinance amending El Segundo Municipal Code Section 164 to update the list of positions exempt from the civil service system, and Section 165 to revise the position title of one department head.
Thank you. So this next item pertains to the amendment of 2 sections of the municipal code. The first section of the municipal code, there is a list of positions that are exempt from the civil service. So all positions in the city belong to civil service unless specifically listed in the ordinance in the Muni Code that they don't belong to civil service. So what does that mean? If you do not belong to civil service, that means you are an at-will employee. You can be released at any time for any reason. There's also the ability to appoint positions that are at will instead of going through a recruitment process. So with the list of positions that we're going to be, the list of positions currently as it reads, exempted from civil service, there's a position, the Senior Executive Assistant. So that position is currently vacant. That position is unlike any of the other positions listed as being exempt. The positions listed as exempt from the civil service are generally at a manager level. All department heads are exempt from civil service, but we've been exempting other manager level. This is not a manager level, and we are proposing that that be removed from the positions that are exempted from civil service. So that means it will be included in the civil service and have property rights to their position. The second piece of the ordinance is a revision of a title for the Director of Human Resources to be the Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. Human Resources has been overseeing risk management since about 2023, I believe it's when we took over risk management. Risk management includes multiple items. It's workers' compensation, it's general liability claims, it's all the insurances for the city, for the contracts, it's OSHA training, it's workplace violence prevention program administration, and a multitude of other things. So a update to the title, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management, is more reflective of the scope of work for the position. So with that, this requires a first reading and a second reading. We are looking for a direction to schedule the second reading in the next meeting in September, and then the ordinance will become effective in October.
Are there any questions for Director Reddick? We do have the option to introduce and waive the first reading. City Attorney, would you read this by title only so we can decide whether or not we want to
The other
introduce
thing
it?
that I wanted to do here, and I was, when I was communicating with Director Reddick last week, in 164, after a bunch of the titles, it says at will in parentheticals. I want to see those list all stricken out because it makes no sense. It's confusing. The whole point of this provision is that every title in here is at will. And so why some of them have at will and some of them don't makes no sense at all. So the other revision, this would be to strike through all of those at wills in section 1-6-4. I don't know at what point somebody put that parenthetical in only next to all of the titles but 3, but it should be taken out.
Mark, what page are you on?
This is on page 153 in the bottom right.
152 of 173, if it was printed.
So in the section 1-6-4, there's all these positions that have parenthetical of at will next to them. That parenthetical should be struck out next to all those names where it appears. The whole point of this entire ordinance, this section of the ordinance, is all these positions are at will.
And that way it would be the same as 165, which does not have parentheticals.
Correct.
Yeah, it's,
Got it.
I don't know at what point those parentheticals were added in there, but they just confused this section, so.
And Ms. Reddick, you would agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And with that, an ordinance amending El Segundo Municipal Code, Chapter 1-6, Personnel Merit System to revise the list of positions exempt from the civil service system and update a department head title is ready for introduction.
With those strike-throughs?
Yes.
Okay, would anyone like to introduce
Boyles
this?
will introduce.
Boyles introduces. All right, so we'll have the second reading, first meeting of October?
Second reading, the next meeting is September
We'll do it
16th.
There we go. People can set their calendars and alarms. You'll be very excited. All right, item 14. Thank you, Director Reddick. Local Hazard Mitigation Plan. Chief Avery, who will present on this?
Good evening again. I'm going to introduce our emergency manager, Melissa, and who's going to introduce our Atlas Planning principal planner, because we are at the end. Your entire staff here has worked on this local hazard mitigation plan for it to come to fruition to this point, which is very important for our city since it's been expired. So I will turn it over to Melissa, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I've only been with the city for about a month, but we've been pushing through this plan to get it done as soon as possible. We have some deadlines we'd like to meet. I will say, though, I'm very impressed with how the executive team and their staff has really pulled through on this. They're engaged, they're interested, they're actually making suggestions, which I have a lot of experience speaking with other emergency managers, especially in Orange County where I came from, and it's always been a bit of a pulling teeth, but here this city has been incredibly supportive. I don't want to spoil the presentation. Aaron Fanensteel from Atlas Planning Solutions will be giving this. He's been working on this since the beginning of the year, and we are just about to wrap it up and should be hopefully going to adoption in the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Aaron Fannin, still with Atlas Planning Solutions. Have previously worked with Chief Avery prior to him being at El Segundo, so it's one of the reasons why I thank him for being here tonight. He's the reason that that we're here to help. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the local hazard mitigation plan. Real quick, just what it is, who and why. It's a plan. It's completely voluntary. But why you would want to do this plan, it opens the door to FEMA grant funding sources that you would not have available to you without it. So and that's one of the reasons why the city has taken the lead and why Fires is particularly taking the lead on this. What is it or do or who is it for? And well, it's for everybody, right? So we want to make sure it's very important that it's for the key departments within the city, fire being the primary department since they're overseeing the plan, but all departments are eligible for grant funding opportunities through this. They just have to participate in the process and understand how this process can connect to what it is that they do from a day-to-day basis and how it can help. Ultimately, you're going to be adopting this plan, so it's really your plan at the end of the day. But your goal and your hope is that by you taking this step and by you also starting to shepherd this process over the next 5 years, you're improving the quality of lives for residents, for businesses, for workers within the city, because ultimately that's what FEMA is hoping you get out of this process. The plan is not something that acts on its own when we're talking about hazards within your community. So on a day-to-day basis, if something occurs within your community, you're going to rely on something called your emergency operations plan. That tells you what to do in the first 24 hours, 72 hours, first couple weeks, and how you're going to respond, how you're going to prepare, how you're going to make sure that you're effectively managing an emergency. The long view of hazards really falls in what's called the general plan safety element. That's a 20-year plan, you know, of what is the vision for our community, what do we want it to look like in 20 years from now, and then what are the steps we take, what are the policies we put in place. The hazard mitigation plan fits nicely in between. It's about a 5-year strategic plan. And so this is where we look at what are the hazards you're concerned about, what are the risks associated with those hazards. We know where floods occur, but do we have any important things in those areas that flood? Can we move them out? And then the strategies you want to take, let's move something out of harm's way. Let's make sure that if we can't do that, let's make it stronger. Let's make sure that it can withstand a more deadly earthquake, or, you know, we don't have to worry as much about the building catching on fire because it's now made of non-flammable materials. So those are the types of steps, those are the types of things that we're really focusing on when we talk about how do we mitigate these hazards. So in and of itself, what hazard mitigation is, it's really about taking sustained action to reduce the loss of life and property within your community. And what FEMA identified very early on, this was in the early 2000s, is that for every dollar they spend doing mitigation now, they actually save $4 in response and recovery. And that's economic losses, that's, you know, lives that are lost, things like that. Those figures have actually changed. Some of them have actually grown significantly. So in some cases, mitigation can have a 12-to-1 ratio of benefit to cost. So, you know, the hope here is that we're able to identify some things that you can do as a community that may save you a lot of money in the future. As I said, the process is fairly straightforward. What we do is we talk about what are the hazards for your community, what are the risks associated with those hazards, what are the tools you already have in place. This is where you have your current capabilities, things like what's already in your zoning or your building codes. And then from there, it's about starting to identify those things that you'd like to have to add on to your current, you know, add to your current toolbox. And then the last major piece of this is what are you going to do over the next 5 years? This is about implementation and about monitoring and making sure that you guys are keeping this plan from sitting on a shelf and just collecting dust. Who participated in this process? We had every department represented. We had a lot of great feedback from all the representatives, and the team's been really great to work with. We've done a lot in a very short amount of time. We would not have been able to achieve that if the departments and the staff within those departments weren't helping to kind of pull the sled together. And again, this is why we want to prepare this. It's really about trying to unlock some of these funding sources. So the three main sources are building resilient infrastructure in communities, or BRIC. Unfortunately, that was defunded just in the last few months, but we've seen this cycle happen over and over again where something has been funded, then defunded, and then it comes back. So we don't want to count it out. There's also flood mitigation assistance, or FMA, and then the big one, and this is the one where most communities can really capitalize on this funding, is what they call HMGP, or Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. These are dollars specifically earmarked to a disaster declaration. So when the president signs a disaster declaration, a portion of that, about 15 to 20% of that total cost, gets set aside specifically for mitigation. And that's where you want to have this plan in place. We've worked with other communities where they were never affected by the disaster that the declaration was signed for, and yet they've been able to bring in tens of millions of dollars to do mitigation work within their community. So we want to make sure you are ready to strike when the iron is hot, and that's what this plan can help you do. The hazards that are included in the plan, seismic and geologic hazards, severe weather, flooding, epidemic, pandemic, vector-borne diseases, urban fire, and then human-caused hazards. These are kind of umbrella categories. There's various hazards beneath all of these categories. And then climate change is one hazard that is included, but it's actually discussed under every single one of those. So what we like to do is try to illustrate how climate change could potentially change that particular hazard in the event that you start to see more frequent impacts associated with certain types of conditions because of changing conditions within the community. So our process at this point is we're here to get the plan adopted, and with that, get it up to Cal OES and FEMA and really start the whole review process from their standpoint. So today, it's really about let's get the plan out for a 15-day public review period. We'll be back in about 2 weeks, and we'll have you take a look at adopting the plan and getting it ready to send it to Cal OES and start their formal review process. We've done a little bit of engagement. We have had an online survey out. Unfortunately, didn't get a lot of traction with those surveys. Sometimes they're hit and miss, but it's been out for a while now. We do have some responses, and those are incorporated into the plan. We did a stakeholder meeting with a couple of key stakeholders, some of your surrounding communities, as well as some large corporations within the city. We were at the farmers market last week. We're here tonight, and then we'll be back, obviously, in a few weeks. So with that, happy to field any questions that you might have, and hopefully dispel any rumors and get you guys on your way.
Council questions? Councilmember Keldorf.
I mean, sure, just quickly for my benefit and for anybody wondering how this would directly impact our ability to, say, deal with something that is like not generated through the city or even through natural disaster, but thinking about Hyperion, does this have any implications for that?
So this is where we run into a little bit of a gray area. We oftentimes will include human-caused hazards and some other hazard conditions. These particular grant sources only apply to natural hazard mitigation. One of the things we like to do, though, is we like to see are there opportunities to create projects that are natural hazard mitigation based, but also help with some of those human-caused hazards. So, and we did have a lot of discussions about Hyperion. And we know that that is a concern. Unfortunately, it's something that is completely out of your control. And so where we only have opportunities to do any sort of mitigation work is really around educating the community, understanding the risk, and hopefully building stronger relationships. And that's really just an emergency management function in and of itself. So hopefully this becomes part of the conversation opener and the starter with talking to Hyperion, hopefully more frequently, and being able to have hopefully better dialogue in the future and make sure that you're in as much understanding as possible about what are the risks and how can we work together.
Okay, thank you.
I'm curious then, so is the reason for this exercise more to unlock funding and grant opportunities, or is it to address risk mitigation planning? Because I mean, Hyperion is a gigantic risk for us. The airport is a gigantic risk for us.
Right.
Air Force Base is a gigantic risk for us. Freeways, trains,
right.
All of those things. Those are not hazards we're going to address with this? Or are we only doing it as a papering exercise to be able to apply for grants?
Those hazards are addressed in the plan. So we do discuss LAX. We do discuss a lot of these human-caused hazards. And like I said, that's where it's a gray area. For Cal OES and FEMA, when they do review the plan, when they start to see this human-caused hazard section, they're not going to pay attention to it in the same way they will when we're talking about seismic hazards or when we're talking about floods or fires.
That would be useful to us, though.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why we include it in the plan, is we know that it doesn't do anything for those particular agencies, but we also know it's really important for the community. And sometimes what we find is that you don't have a place to talk about these hazards. This now becomes that place. And this now is the starting point to then start to build it into other plans that Melissa would most likely be undertaking, parts of your emergency operations plan. If you want to have an annex specific to Hyperion, if you want to do something as far as a training or an exercise around, an LAX incident. And there's a number of other opportunities to do that, but this becomes the kind of starting point or the seed for some of those because there's no really good place to do it otherwise. So yeah, it's not a paper exercise from our standpoint. We oftentimes find a lot of communities where they just glaze over all of the human cause hazards in their plans and do nothing about it. But while we know that you're not going to get any funding out of it from this particular funding source, having it in this plan is a starting point if you do want to pursue a funding source that does help you with human cause hazards. You now have already said, look, we've already identified it in a plan where we know we're not going to get any funding, but that's how important it is to our community. And then here's all the other backup documentation we're submitting with this grant application. So yeah, we don't treat it as just a paper exercise.
Hand in glove with the emergency operations plan. So if it doesn't address some of our most glaring risks, then it would be a bit remiss. A question for you, and this actually pulls the chief. Chief, don't get up yet. But we have our fire safety element plans, which cover more than just fire, right? They lay out every natural gas line, everything. We know exactly how many give or take, how many barrels go from the refinery to LAX or from Torrance's refinery that come through here. We spent a lot of money and time on that. Does that become an annex to this, or are we going to continue to generate both plans?
I don't want to speak for Chief. My typical recommendation is that those types of plans you probably don't want to include in something like this, because this is a publicly available document. And so we want to be sensitive about sensitive assets and sensitive critical operations that you probably don't want in the public's hand.
Does this give specific recommendations about equipment and infrastructure? So we should have a certain number of generators, a certain number of backhoes, a certain number of volunteers, or does that stuff all sit in the emergency operations plan?
I would, again, caution, you want to house that in the emergency operations plan, especially in annexes. Those, again, are not publicly available, and that's not the kind of information you probably want to have.
How many backhoes?
How many backhoes?
Is that a secret? Is there a backhoe mafia?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that sometimes and every jurisdiction is different. Every agency is different. A lot of agencies don't like to identify what's the inventory of all of their equipment. It's just a infrastructure sensitivity.
But in terms of a mitigation in here, it might say you should have a certain number of megawatts of backup generation capacity.
Yeah, or you want to make sure you have adequate capacity. So we try not to give you specific values, because sometimes those values may change, right? If from one year to the next you've made some changes to how you're operating or functioning a water pump, and all of a sudden the generation needs are significantly higher or lower, we try not to paint you into a corner that, oh, well, it says this megawatt, so we have to go with this megawatt. We try to give you a little bit more flexibility in how we approach that.
How often do we do this plan?
Every 5 years, they're required to be updated. But you can update it in between those 5 years on an annual basis. That's one of the biggest recommendations that we provide to our clients is every year you should actually be pulling this out, talking through it, and making any administrative changes that you want. You have every right to do that and to update the plan mid-cycle.
Thank you. Further council questions?
The draft plan will be made available to the community later in September.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. And that will be published how?
We're going to be putting it on the webpage, and then there'll be hard copies at the
City Hall, Fire Department, the Police Department, and
Library.
I'm sorry?
Library.
And the library.
Great, thank you.
Is this a fixed contract? If the draft comes out tomorrow and people hate it, how much extra time do we have on it? Do we have to come back and do a whole new contract? If we're like, hey, this is totally insufficient.
I mean, again, the sufficiency or insufficiency, we usually work with Cal OIS and FEMA. They're the ones who tell us whether or not it's sufficient, insufficient. As far as if you want more work done from a community perspective, we're happy to work with you on that as well.
Very well. City Manager.
Yes, and Mayor, if I could just add, I want to thank again the chief, certainly the consultant, all of the department heads who really did come together very quickly, because we were targeting an October date to adopt the plan so that we could be eligible for a number of grants that FEMA has awarded through, like Ted Lieu's office, for instance. Because we'll have this, hopefully have this adopted by October, we can be eligible for, I think, roughly $1.2 million for our new pumping station. And we would not be eligible to get that without a current hazard mitigation plan. So we all got together in a very rapid way to put this together, and again, it was a good team effort. I just want to thank the team on that.
Thank you. Anything else for the council? Would anyone like, oh, we're just receiving and filing. All right. Any objection to receiving and filing?
Nope.
So receiveth, so filed. All right, committees, commission, board presentations. City Clerk, any reports?
I do. First of all, shout out to the El Segundo Art Walk. It was an amazing event. Got to see my favorite local band, Skeleton Bay, danced a little, and it was a great group of artists. So that was fantastic. I also have a quick update regarding California's mid-decade congressional redistricting. Governor Newsom has signed a redistricting package placing the matter before voters in a special election that will be held on November 4th, 2025. Vote centers across the state, including our drop box, will play a role in this. We have found out that the provision includes reimbursement to the county, so there will be no financial hit to the county to hold this. And if you've got any further questions, please don't hesitate to call
Who's
us.
reimbursing it to the county?
The state.
We got a printing press up there? Huh. All right. Yeah, just borrow from somebody. Fourth biggest economy. All right. Councilmember Keldorf. Sorry, Madam Clerk, anything further? Sorry, I just cut you right off. Councilmember Keldorf.
Nothing, no reports for me. Question, maybe it's in the city manager's report though at the end, just when ESAC will be reopened. I'm getting that question quite a bit. Work is complete and we're back up.
Yes, the work is complete. The heaters are in. The liner has been replaced. Yeah, sure, Elias. And then the filtering system has been repaired. I believe everything is open.
So the heater project was on a schedule, is already completed. But during the replacing of the heaters, we run into an issue with the filter. The filter for the practice pool, for the small pool, we've been having issues with that particular the manufacturer. We call upon Neptune to come and take a look at it, and the filter, 2 years ago, it showed a lot of stuff that should have been caught by the filter, but it ended up into the heat exchanger units, and that should not happen. So when we open up the heaters to replace them, we saw that the debris continues to go to those heat exchanger units. Shouldn't have happened, because just a year ago we had the whole filter rebuilt. So we are trying to figure it out, and we just completed, fixing that filter last Friday. So we run into that issue. It was not related to the heater, and so everything is done. Tomorrow, my hope is that the heaters will be added to the online, and we'll go through the procedure to get the heaters back on. And we expect everything to be completed this week, and next city council meeting, we'll have I already work on the staff report for acceptance of the project.
Thank you, Elias.
Sure.
I'm so sorry, I missed part of that. What day is it going to be open?
The big pool is already open today. The small pool, because of the fact that the filter wasn't working, we're going to get everything.
As long as big pool open, fine.
It's open, yeah.
Anything further, Councilmember Keldorf?
That's all I have.
Okay, Councilmember Giroux.
Actually, no report, but I question on a couple of items that we've talked about that I have not seen pop up yet on the agenda. So I'm trying, I know it's in the plan. I'd just like to know if there's an update on it. Number one is kind of talking right now about this ESAC and our agreement on that pool with Wiseburn. It's a terrible deal. We have options, and I would like to know when that will be put on an agenda so we can discuss what our options are going forward. for the management and operations of that pool.
I don't have my calendar of council items in front of me, but it will come before you before the end of the year.
Okay, and the second one is, I know there was discussion at one point on city vehicles, and this will be a big comprehensive report on that. Is that coming up?
Yes, that has worked its way through the Finance Committee. We actually had a meeting not last week, the week before, kind of complete. It's been a very thorough analysis of all the city vehicles, where they are, who has them, the year, so forth, and mileage, maintenance records, and we do have that, and I'd be happy to present that to the council at a meeting, or I could prepare something to get to you individually, however you would like.
Okay, however it is, I just know it's been a conversation piece,
Yes,
and
it's
it's
completed.
been a long time.
The entire inventory has been completed.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion? One of the things one of the catalysts, Councilmember Drew, is our CFO was looking at a lease versus finance model, and then we started saying, well, how many vehicles do we actually have, and where are they? And do we have technology like Fleetmatics to track the vehicles and protect us in the event of an accident with cameras, stuff like that? So we don't have some of those things, so we're still working on it. I think last meeting we got a preliminary number, and I think you're going to come back, Mr. Chung, if I remember correctly, was September, yeah. And then I think we should present it to the full council, though, once it goes to the Finance Committee one more time, probably.
We'll do that.
Gosh, so that's fine. Finance Committee first. I just know that's something. Those two items have been going on a long time.
Yes, they have.
I understand this latter one, the former one, should just not have taken this long to have this discussion. So,
Okay.
thank you. Councilmember Boyles.
One thing, we had the final meeting of the South Bay Housing Trust Advisory Committee, I think it's called, is that right, Mr. Allen? And really the only significant thing that came out of it was that we decided on a board composition, which will be 7 members from the 16 cities, COG cities basically, and 2 housing experts. So there'll be 9 members on this board. I think COG will probably, I don't know who's going to COG now, is that you going to COG? I think it'll be for the COG to decide about the board composition, if I remember correctly. And the board will then configure a joint powers agreement to formally establish the trust. So more to come on that. And I think with the new Measure A funds, there's now some funds that could help some of these projects in the Housing Trust Fund eventually. So
Have they indicated how much of the Measure A funding we're allowed to apportion to that? Or how much will go to administrative costs
Do
of
you
just
remember?
the industry?
Yeah. Well, I'll get back to you on that. Or Mr. Allen will. One of us will. They didn't give us minutes yet.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I just want to give my appreciation to all the city staff and everyone who helped organize the Art Walk. It's a fun time not only to meet people, but just to see how many people are brought into the city. And then there was 4 elderly people walking around, and I heard them say, you know, it's just fun walking around this little town. Like they've never been here before, and there's something that brings them in. It's always nice to take a part of. So thanks everyone on your efforts for that. That's all I have, sir.
Very well. Per the last item, Disaster Council meets tomorrow, and that's more emergency operation plan, but we'll fortunately have the draft of this risk mitigation plan so we can torture people with it. French swim team on Friday. That's exciting. I hope that the French national team wants to see our pool that's now running, which is an important part of the sales pitch. Sanitation has been dark in August, except on the personnel matters where the general counsel there makes a substantial amount of money. We had 1 bidder respond to the RFP for the one in the spring. And because they do this meeting really early on a Wednesday and everyone's cranky, we decided to keep going back and issuing another RFP. So there's no general counsel. You're welcome. Don't offer me those things without coffee. The Metro meeting with Mayor Butts is coming up to talk about Mayor Butts in his Metro role about those 405 extensions. I wrote you guys an email explaining that it's just a substantial amount of money, and I think it is likely to be mildly acrimonious. And that's all. City Attorney.
Nothing this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
City Manager.
Yes, Mayor, just a brief Hyperion update. Just to let you know that city staff did meet on August 21st, along with Dr. Stenstrom and Philip Fries, our sub-consultant. Actually, it was a very productive meeting. We met with General Manager Barbara Romero and her team, went through a whole slew of issues related to the facility, and this group will be meeting now on a regular basis to get updates on what they're doing by way of improvements and maintenance work at the facility. So we will report on those items as they become available. And then also, we did become aware that there were 4 notices of violation since the last meeting that were reported to AQMD. And then finally, just a reminder that the community facility tour will take place on Saturday, this Saturday from 10 to noon. And we've got that information on our website.
Mr. George?
Yes.
There used to be a quarterly meeting that Hyperion would come and meet people in the library and answer questions to give a presentation. I don't think they've done that in over a year.
Okay.
So the next time you speak with the nice folks at Hyperion, could you see?
Ray attended Turlock High School, where he played football and was, by his own admission, a very mediocre student. And still, he graduated in 1976. He found his academic identity while an undergraduate at Cal State University Stanislaus, and at the same time began dating Joanne Swanson, who had been his classmate since junior high school. They married in 1979 and each continued their studies. Ray's insatiable curiosity would eventually lead him to earn 4 degrees: a bachelor's degree in sociology from CSU Stanislaus, 2 master's degrees in theology and divinity from Fuller Theological Seminary, and a doctorate in education from Pepperdine University. Ray and Joanne purchased their first home in Culver City, where they welcomed their son Andrew in 1991. Shortly afterwards, the family moved to El Segundo, where Ray and Joanne became a teacher and a librarian, respectively, in the city school district. Ray was a tireless educator for more than 3 decades. He taught thousands of students for 31 years in English, social studies, journalism, and computer science at El Segundo High School. He also served as the chair of the English department for 16 years and was the district's curriculum specialist in education technology for 20 years. On the side, he was an adjunct professor for 16 years in the education departments of Loyola Marymount, Chapman University, Azusa Pacific, and Pepperdine. Additionally, Ray was elected to and served for 8 years on the board of the trustees of El Camino Community College. Ray retired in 2022 and devoted himself to his writing, which he had already included being published in academic articles and resource books for teachers. Shortly before his death, he published his nonfiction book, The Golden Hour: Recipes and Stories from a Chinese-American Restaurant, which includes memories from his childhood spent working in his parents' business. He had also completed 3 books of fiction, with another 2 in progress. Ray is survived by his wife Joanne, his son Andrew, and his fiance Andrew, and Andrew's fiance Bronte Gessler, his brothers and their spouses, Sherman, married to Bonnie Holmes Ginn, Justin Ginn, and Sheldon Ginn, his wife Lane. Joanne's siblings, Gary Swanson, and his wife Linda, and Diane and Keith Landmeyer, and 10 nieces and nephews. So tonight we adjourn in Ray's honor.